Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is James with the Salon movement. We're back again after just coming back from Heron Stage in San Francisco. My partner in crime over there in Victoria Island or Vancouver Island over there in Victoria, BC, Canada. What's going on, Kurtis? How are you?
Hey, brother. I guess happy to be back in Paradise of Victoria. But you know what? I really love San Francisco. It was an amazing city. It was an amazing show, and it was great to spend time with you and Angela. The girls are back to work now, so they're not on the call today. But looking forward to having them back on the next one.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, San Francisco, if nobody's been, it was my first time there. Great city. I hear that we lucked out with some absolutely awesome weather when we were there. Here it could be a little bit gloomy there, but 70 degrees, sunny, just beautiful. The show is absolutely amazing. We'll get to that a little bit too in our next call. We'll have some surprise guests and things on, but Kurtis and I thought it was kind of important now that Sustainable Beauty Month is over, just to do a little bit of a recap to talk about our events that we've done, some of the great things that we've heard that other salons have done around. We were really lucky that there was a few salons that were out there with us in San Francisco, like Arya out from Arizona, that did some amazing things this year for Sustainable Beauty Month. So we just thought it was good timing. I always hate when we leave our event that we do every year, and it's so much stress and pressure to get it done and to do all those great things, and then you kind of just want to put it in a box until next year. And I just thought it would be great for us to really start to talk about it now, to put a little bit of a blueprint in action, so that trials and tribulations, you guys don't have the same dilemmas that kind of happen and pop up. But Kurtis, why don't you recap a little bit about your event, because you had one right at the beginning of the month of April celebrating Sustainable Beauty Month.
Yeah, so one thing, well, I'll mention what our event is. It was called Well Fed Beauty. It was basically a fundraiser for Food Eco District, which is a local nonprofit here in town that we do a lot of work with. It was started by Synergy Enterprises and the Synergy Sustainability Institute, which I'm on the Spawn Salon working group, bringing hopefully a green certification to the salon industry here on Vancouver Island, and which is lacking and not in place right yet. But we had a kind of a last minute idea, to tell you the truth. We talked a little bit about it in the last show about how we came to actually making an event this year, and it came from a little bit of influence from you guys at the Beehive, and the fact that you guys were doing a full-on event and getting the community involved outside of the salon. And I think with the new approach from Davines to allow for us, or encouragement for us, to be able to also raise money for local nonprofits and charities was really cool, and that's kind of what got us interested in wanting to do something outside the salon. And we love the Fruit Tree Planting Foundation, and we're definitely going to get them involved in some way in our next year's event. But this year we decided to do food related event, especially celebrating the fact that Davines' commitment to slow food ingredients in their shampoos and conditioners and all the other products. And so we wanted to kind of make that connection with the local economy and our clients and potential clients. And so we had an event, a 90-person event at the Robert Bateman Gallery, which is kind of a really modern, beautiful, upscale location in Victoria overlooking the harbor. And we had two beautiful, amazing bands that played, and 5 food vendors from the Food Eco District that provided small little appies. And so we sold tickets for $50, and the $50 actually, we did cover some of the expenses with that, but in general, it was supposed to, everything being 100% to the charity of the Food Eco District itself. So the food vendors actually donated their food and time and servers to the event. And we also got a local beer and wine sponsor. So the beer was completely covered from Hoyne Brewery, so that we could sell tickets for $5 for any beer and wine, and all that was going towards the Food Eco District. We also had cultured kombucha, which was amazing and turned out to be one of the best sellers actually for the event as a non-alcoholic option for participants there. And Christine from Cultured had come and set up and talked about her product, and it was a really cool education with regards to food, and just in general, just regarding holistic beauty. I think that it was great to have that whole leverage of circle of influence raised and expanded into the food world, so that clients could kind of see how eating for health and eating for beauty is connected with regards to the ingredients within Davines and also within our ethics and ethos when we think about holistic beauty in what we do in every day. So we ended up raising around $3,000. We still have it to go to the bookkeeper and accountant just to make sure that we have all of our T's crossed and I's dotted, and there isn't any tax or anything else that we have coming out of that. But we ended up with a little bit more people. We ended up, I think, with 120 people, which was the max before that event. But it ended up that we had some, we had a lot of volunteers show up. That was one of the most amazing aspects of what we did, and we were really excited about the fact that, and here's something to mention to everybody else, just as lessons learned for events, is that if you're going with a local charity, really do your research with regards to what their support is going to be. I do a lot of nonprofit work in the community. We do a lot of events, and depending on the nonprofit or the charity, they all have a certain way of participating. For us, the Food Eco District, I think they had about 14 volunteers that came, to set up and, and to work the event. Yeah. And you can imagine, when you do the events, I know, well, obviously you can because you do your own, that when you're giving back to a charity and they don't show up or they don't bring people or they're not selling tickets, it makes it, a lot more work on people putting together the event. And to have that kind of support, it's a real blessing. And I think that, I'd love to do a really big shout out to the Food Eco District with regards to that. They were, obviously they're getting money by donations for this to plants or to build planters for the local economy and the local food vendors over in Fort and Blanchard. But, they showed up and they helped us raise that money. And they also, were part of the speeches and they were part of the thank yous to the local community. And they were part of the social media process and sending out what was going on and stuff like that. So big shout out to them and for everybody else that's doing their own events and stuff like that. Just, really research and have a good conversation with regards to the nonprofit or charity that you're working with and really figure out what their level of support is going to be during the event itself. And the only other thing that we can talk a little bit more about this afterwards, just with regards to after we talk about your event and some of the things that you mentioned. But, having a professional photographer there is really, really key. We had a photographer that was a friend of ours because we could get a professional, and she volunteered her time, and it was amazing, and she did an amazing job. Absolutely, in the future, especially when we did hair with like massive, humongous headpieces with food and everything else in them, and they made some beautiful pictures, and we posted some of those on our Instagram so people can check that out. But you're going to a lot of work, so make sure that you also are investing in being able to be able to capture some professional content. And the other thing that I absolutely must for next year is that I'm going to be hiring a social media person to be on site at the event doing social media for me. That is their entire job, nothing else. They're taking pictures and they are posting on Instagram, Facebook, and any other social media aspects that you use. And that is their sole responsibility. Because I found that I couldn't do any social media during the event because I was hosting and I'm talking to people, and it's weird to be on your phone the whole time. So we had hardly any social media during the event itself. And we had instructed the staff to do some, and they did some, but I think it's really important to really work with a person that, and there's lots of them out there that'll do this, especially, a lot of web designers will do this as kind of a part-time thing, that they will come to your events and they will be your point person for social media. And then you can have accountability built into that and your goals and deadlines and everything else. And I think it's so important, especially when you're dealing with silent auction and you're having sponsors be there. It's nothing better than for a silent auction or a sponsor to get blast of Instagram and social media content in response to how they supported the event, because they'll support you for next year. So that was really long-winded, but I thought I'd just kind of give it all to you right off the bat, and then that way we can maybe discuss a little bit more about the details. But that's from our sense that it was an amazing event, and it was great, and we loved it, and we're going to do something amazing, similar, hopefully bigger next year.
No, that's great. And just to take one step backwards, if any of you haven't listened to the call where we had Jem from Fruit Tree Planting, we also had Synergy on the call about some of the great work that they do. So I know Kurtis had worked with them for this particular event as well. But definitely, shout out to Synergy. That's a really good point to take a look at that. Two awesome points that Kurtis made, which, from doing our event, for the 5th year this year, having a pro photographer, I know if you can get somebody to donate their time, it's, here you work all this time to do a charity event, and you're trying to get as many dollars as you can into the kitty for them. It's hard to say, hey, we need to hire a professional. So it's always great to see if you know somebody, maybe even if you go to your pool of clients, sometimes you'd be surprised if it never even came up, but an amateur photographer with an awesome camera, I'm not saying they're a substitute for a pro photographer, but we've done it both ways in the past with events where we had a professional, we had a local camera store, they sent a guy down, and he took pretty typical like wedding type pictures. So I felt like, even though it was great that he donated his time and had, the resolution on the pictures were great, you lost a lot in translation because they were like wide shots. Our event's an outdoor event, so a wide shot of the event, any angle, as long as you get one of them, it all looks the same at some point. So there was some missed opportunity with, the kids' reactions to some of the programs and things that we do. I love the tip about having somebody on site to do social media. I think that's completely invaluable in this market. I mean, it's something that I didn't even think of for our event until this year. But that's a really key thing, I think, that everybody should pay attention to. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't think of it ahead of time. I really expected that. I guess it's just one of those things. You invest in what you think is going to be valuable, and as far as I'm concerned, I think that's completely invaluable. I think that you have to have somebody dedicated and responsible and accountable for that type of activity. And relying on your staff, unless they're absolutely amazing and they're not going to be busy doing anything else, your staff is going to be talking to your clients, you're going to be talking to your guests. You want them to be working the room. You want them to have their cards in their hand and talking about the hair that they did on the model. You don't want them walking around with their head and eyes on the phone looking like they're rude when they're one of the hosts. So having somebody that nobody else knows, that they can just walk around and just have a badge that says social media or something, you can take care of that part of the event. And a lot of them will do it for fairly reasonable amounts, because a lot of them are just building their client, they're building their portfolio. And so it's a very cost effective way to be able to get a lot of content and coverage and show value to your sponsors for the silent auction items.
Yeah, I think that's another key too, is showing the added value to the sponsors is a big thing. I'll tell you a little more about our event, but that's, they're sort of structurally the same thing to a degree in terms of how the sponsorships and things work. But just to give you a little bit of a recap, we do an Earth Week event every year in honor of Sustainable Beauty Month, or which was day and then week and now month. The very first year was really mild. We actually had it we did it as in the Salon parking lot. Basically, we have 3 small kids, so we had a recycled arts and crafts person come in. We did a little bit with our local Whole Foods, which was a great idea. Or give you a great example. Thought it was a great idea and didn't work. We went to a couple different Whole Foods locally. We took the brown recycled shopping bags that they give out, and here we had like 80 kids show up to our event. We had them painting the bags for Earth Day, and the idea was we would give them back to Whole Foods. So when you shop there on Earth Day, one of your bags was actually hand painted by little Billy or little Mary or
very
whatever.
Cool. That's really, really cool.
Yeah. And in my head when we started, and we had a beekeeper and, some fun stuff, some snacks and things. But in my head, when we started, I said, wow, that's a great idea. If I could go to the local schools, I could hand out bags either to the art teachers or to some of the kindergarten classes and things, let them kind of do their own interpretation of what the Earth Day or whatever meant to them. And then I could go and collect them all and say, hey, Whole Foods, here's 1,000 bags from 10 local schools or whatever. The school system now is so hard to do anything with unless you actually have kids in the school. You have to go through PTAs or PTOs or principals. And here, what we thought was like a really cute idea that, like, how cool you go to the supermarket and it's like, hey, get a hand painted bag, and it was something fun, turned into like such a political thing. And the irony of it was, with the exception of Whole Foods donating the bags or maybe the local art store donating the paints, it was like a mess I had to clean up in the parking lot. There was really no funds that exchanged hands to go toward Fruit Tree Planting Foundation. It was all expense, so it was a good marketing vehicle for the salon because you have moms that are bringing their kids. So, we were luckier that year in terms of translating the people that came on site for the event into actual clients. But it was hard to generate donations. And, we kind of had the idea for our second year to expand upon it. We brought in live music. We had 10 vendors, same thing. We did it at the salon. We have our own exclusive parking lot in the back here that's kind of secluded. And I had 5 of your green groups, like Habitat for Humanity types, Food and Water Watch, and some of those type of things that we have local. And then I had my handmade vendors. We carry some soaps and things like that that are made locally. So like a modified farmers market with a little bit of awareness brought in. And it was a hit. And ever since then, I was worried about doing it. I had to leave the salon open so the bathrooms could be utilized. It was kind of you're just kind of watching too many things to make sure nobody's walking around the salon and things like that. So we opted to move it to the park. And the last 3 years, we've held it at a local park up the street from the salon. And we've literally doubled almost every year so far. So first year, we had 20 vendors. Same thing, live music and things. Second year, we had 38 vendors, and this year we were up to 50 altogether. We do different programs for kids every hour on recycling and endangered local animals. And, the last couple of years we had food vendors that were local come in. We had a Thai place that does all natural cooking. I had organic hot dogs, like a bunch of things to keep people on site. And we've supported Fruit Tree Planting Foundation for all of these years. This year we modified a bit. We worked with an organization called Children's Aid and Family Services. They run, I guess they basically are one of the oldest charities in the state of New Jersey and one of the oldest in the nation. And they support the group homes and the foster children locally. We always had a health and wellness spin on our event in terms of activities. So we do kids yoga in the morning and these things. So when I talked to Children's Aid and Family Services, they were at a shortage for safety gear for the kids for the spring. So we did bike helmets for them. That was our donation. So, we raised funds to get that. And we donated, I think it was 74 bike helmets to foster kids this year, which was pretty cool. We're kind of extending our Sustainable Beauty Month fundraising in Salon now through May and June. We did a 20 by 20 outdoor blow dry bar in the park as our salon. Was actually solar powered blow drying. We learned how to hook up solar panels, which we're going to have some information on the site about that too. Once I can get my electrician to clear whatever I say as a disclaimer. But we wanted to incorporate the new YHA line with the art of blow drying, and kind of bring it all full circle together. So we're still going to run promotions in the salon so we can generate some funds for Fruit Tree Planting Foundation, but the actual event supported the kids directly. And it was good. We lucked out, 70 plus degree weather. Everybody had a really good time. The usual nonsense, which we'll get into some nuts and bolts after this about some of the problems that can arise. But everything else kind of went off without a hitch. And knock on wood, I was tired as could be the whole week afterwards. So what better way to celebrate than to get on a plane and go out to California to head on stage? But we survived another year.
Awesome. Well, what I love about your event, and it's great because we do have quite similar but different at the same time. Yours is a lot more family orientated. It's about bringing involvement and maximizing the amount of people that are exposed to the opportunity. I love that you brought up kind of the a different model, because for us, where we charge tickets for our participants to arrive, and the vendors were just basically by donation in order to raise awareness for their own aspects of being part of Food Eco District, and also as a business and the food, being able to profile their food at such a high-end event. But with you guys actually raising some of those funds by getting the vendors paid to be there, I like that, because especially for maximizing participation, and especially being a family event, I love that your event, if you have 200 or 2,000 people, either way, you can kind of control what you're going to be raising with regards to funds, and then you kind of have an idea of how that's going to structure itself, and then you're kind of bringing the awareness from the vendors to the people, and it's tough because yours is weather dependent too, and that's such a courageous thing for you guys to be able to do with such a large event, kind of a rain or shine thing. And thank God the weather seemed to be absolutely amazing for you guys.
Yeah, and that's I'm taking some notes for some, like I said, troubleshooting, we'll call it, for other people that want to do events. The weather permitting is really brutal. We've had, we've been lucky. Haven't had a complete washout. The 2 years prior, it really wasn't so warm. As a matter of fact, we have live bees that they bring in an observation hive. Last year, they couldn't bring the bees because, besides them kind of being banged up a little bit from a bad winter here, it was also too cold to take them out of the hive for that long. Um, I wish I had a great solution. I'm hoping maybe one of you that's part of the movement comes up with an idea for me. I hate to do a rain date because there's certain components of our event that are really hard to replicate. So um, one of the things is we get a 36-foot stage that we borrow from the county. The Parks Department has, it's basically a trailer that pulls up. It's sort of like a clamshell. So it's a covered stage that they loan us for the event. I just can't reserve it for 2 weekends in a row because they send it out to other events. So on one hand, at least the stage is covered for the band and the vendors bring tents. But if you had like a crazy washout where it was 50 degrees and rainy, you almost have to call the event. So then at that point, you get into, um, you know, they're they're giving me a table fee for the event in exchange for being advertised as being part of the event. It's their donation. The table is free with their donation. So it's worded very specifically in their contract. I just would hate to have 50 vendors banging on my door that wanted their money back because the event was washed out. We had to call it. There's just not a great solution. There's not really a great indoor location where you can move them inside. It's on my list. I said, hey, after the event's done, I'll think about it for the whole year and see if I can come up with some type of solution. But it's tough. So that's definitely something to think about. The weather permitting. The other thing I had just mentioned, I don't know. You'd have to check state by state, but we're going to build something specific to having Sustainable Beauty Month events outside, or bringing other people in, like Kurtis had done. We're going to put that in the resources, but I will post up our contract that we send out to vendors. It's built on like a standard farmer's market, like a table, like if a church had a craft fair type of thing. So it's basic liability. It's nothing crazy, but at least it may be sort of a foundation for any of you that want to do an event like that. You definitely need something. The other thing I would say too, as a word of warning, now Kurtis, we did table fees, and that's how we generated money. I know you guys did tickets, but in terms of anything like table fees, make sure you have a deadline, because you are going to have to do some advertising. You're going to have to put, if somebody donates X, they go down as a sponsor, as they do in our event. Make sure you put that deadline like 6 weeks at least before your event to get your money, because otherwise, the local bank sponsored one of our animal programs. Right away, the guy walked over, here's the check for the program. So it went directly to that. I knew he was on the poster. Some of the other people that wanted to go down to sponsors, oh, yeah, I'm going to send, hey, I'm going to stop by, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then down to the wire at the last minute. So I had to make the judgment call of saying, hey, I trust that they're going to sponsor, so I will put them on the poster. Just do yourself a favor, get it done early. Any of that contracts, our town, because we have it in the park, has something called a hold harmless agreement that they need to sign that basically says if something happens to them that they're not going to sue the town. The food vendors need their board of health type permits and things like that. Do yourself a favor, do it early. Think about the weather later. The contracts aren't going to go bad if you decide to move it indoors or change your date, but do it early. I feel like every year it gets to the 90-day marker and I'm scrambling still. Take that one piece of advice for me is get it done early. And Kurtis, why don't you mention a little bit about the ticket sales, because I know there was a little bit of difficulty and it wound up working out great, but that's really a good point for them to know too.
Yeah. So for our ticket sales, one of our strategies with regards to ticket sales was that I'm part of a nonprofit in town called the Young Entrepreneurs Society. I'm a board member on that organization for the past, it's been 2.5 years. And they usually give kind of me one of the mixers for the month. And usually it's April. And I have always before kind of gone to a sustainable organization within Victoria to kind of host that mixer, which is available to its members. We have about 120, 130 members. And we have probably, and the mixers are free. So there's probably about 80 or so people at a mixer at a time. And it's, half members, half people just kind of checking things out. So what I tried to do is combine our event with the mixer as well, hoping that my strategy was that the Young Entrepreneur Society, since we had 80 people anyways, that even if I got even half of those people that would come to the event, and normally do come to these type of events, then half of my ticket sales would have been covered just by them alone. And it turned out that because I had planned it, with only really a month ahead of time, that our city is very last minute too. I totally appreciate that. It is difficult to pre-sale tickets. A lot of them, you're waiting until the 5 days ahead of time, sometimes a couple days ahead of time. So yeah, I guess it's just, when it comes to tickets, think about the price point. I think for next year, if we're going to, I would like to try to make a bigger event, like a larger, maybe around 200, 250 person event, and have the tickets cheaper, have it maybe around $20, $25. And but I still kind of have to do the math on that just to see what the business plan with regards to raising those funds is going to be. Also, one point that you helped me out with too is that, we used Eventbrite for our ticket sales, which is great. It's amazing. You can print off a spreadsheet and it shows you your taxes, shows everything. You have a great layout for how that is all going to be for the people, the participants, and for the front desk can register people in. But if I'm going out and promoting it, I talked to you about this before the event, a few days before, and told you that I was having trouble with tickets, and you had given me the idea. Well, why don't you print some hard tickets off and have them in your possession while you're talking to people, so that you can sell them right there and then. And I tried to keep it as eco-friendly as possible by not printing off the tickets, but I think that, I think that you still need to print some off. And I think that people do need to have something kind of in their possession to make it have that value, especially if you're going to be comping some people that are going to be media, or to give them a ticket that says, paid ticket. They have something there. It shows that it's not just a party that if they don't show up to, they're not going to be noticed. So I thank you. You helped me with kind of last minute details, and you did up some graphic design for me to be able to print off some tickets, and I did that and was able to provide that people. So, as far as tickets go, that's one point.
Yeah, and you know what, and I like the point of that. How you had mentioned about not wanting to print because it's an eco type event. I would say after 5 years of doing them, you have to take certain things with a grain of salt. Now, I would help everyone else in saying, like, the road signs that you see, right? Karate school, whatever things that people are going to put out, real estate type signs on the H wires that people put by the road. They've been a big hit for us at some of the corners where, the park is on a main street, but some of these intersecting streets that are around, people may not pass the park. So they've been a great add-on for us for kind of cheap advertising, I guess you'd say. What we've tried to do now is make them so we always have our event the last Sunday in April, so April 20 something. Is I've tried to make the signs where we've used our graphics to edit them enough so that if I just don't put that last digit, so it says April 2 blank, and then I can use vinyl stick-ons to change those signs every year. It's a pain in the neck because 50 signs double sided, that's 100 vinyl pieces. You got to peel the old ones, put the new ones. But that's how I'm giving back and saying, hey,
Cool.
if they last 5 years, that's good. But on your point with the printing of the tickets, the same thing like posters. I would rather run a few posters off and say, hey, I would rather get more traffic to the event and promote those eco groups and my charity that way than worry about the one poster I printed to hang up in Starbucks. I mean, you got to look at the yin and yang of it a little bit and say, hey, there's the value there for that. That's the only thing that you're going to be able to do. It's better to have the bodies come to the event and support the charity than it is to worry that, oh my God, I printed 10 posters. You try to print them in the most eco format you can, obviously. But sometimes you just have to take one and just run with it.
Yeah. It's a balance, right? And that's the beauty of these type of events, is that it's at least bringing awareness that there's these kind of decisions out there to be made. And when it comes to printing off how many tickets you're going to print off, or posters or anything else, or you use recycled paper, these are the kind of things that at least you're bringing awareness to in your own conscious experience is part of the whole process of what Davin is trying to do with regards to having a sustainable beauty month in general. And, just as a salon, just highlighting what you're up to and stuff like that is all part of the process in part of Sustainable Beauty Month itself. It's not just the events that you're raising money for a local charity or nonprofit or the Fruit Tree Planting Foundation. And I think that really speaks to a point that you had made up in your explanation of your event, was that you kind of brought up the challenge of kind of, when to raise awareness and when to raise funds. And, when you look, especially in events, because you're doing all this energy and you're doing this effort, and we think as business people that, there has to be something that you're doing in order to raise money for the charity. It's great to raise awareness. It's great to have community involvement, and there is value in that, and there's marketing value in what you're doing. But I think it's important for business owners and people that are doing this kind of work, and for the Davin salons that are participating, is at least think through that process. Think, okay, I'm raising awareness for this item, and this is the value that I see it as. And I'm raising funds, and this is what the value is for that. So that way, it's potentially something that at least you put yourself through the process of thinking, because I think that translates into our everyday kind of salon experience. Especially with when we're doing with recolors and our advertising and our everything else. There's a lot we give away for free, and if you're not writing that down and being accountable to the things that you are doing and spending, even just for the bookkeepers itself. Like, there was so many things that we were donating to our event that the bookkeeper afterwards is saying, yeah, put a value on that. That's part of your sponsorship. Just because you're being nice doesn't mean you can't have, some sort of, not kickback, but at least some points on what you are using for promotion in order to have some tax savings. So just to put it out there as well, just the philosophy of, raising awareness versus raising funds.
Yeah, it's true. And like I said, when we put together this punch list, there's a bunch of things that I didn't learn. I'll give you a great example. Because it's in a park, it's not easy to communicate. And and everybody wants to think like, oh, in this day and age, everybody has a cell phone. Oh, really? Bring 1,000 people to a park for the opening with a rock band and a woman that's there with owls from the local nature preserve, and tell me if you're going to hear a text. I don't care if it's on vibrate. I don't care. You don't hear anything. So we had opted to go the walkie-talkie route, and and they're inexpensive, but they've lasted us these last 3 years very, very easily, and they should do it. But that was one hard expense that we had to add into the event. But otherwise, it was almost too hard to run it, to communicate between the stage. And I usually have somebody on staff that's a runner, and then I'm meeting with the vendors, and I'm making sure everything from do they know where the restrooms are to they need change, do they need a bottle of water, whatever those things are, those are the costs that you need to think about. And that's something that I'll make sure that I share with you guys. Unfortunately for us, there's so many hard costs with our event because it's outdoors. I had to rent the secondary stage this year to do the programs. The cost factor of that, even with using a local company, they did it through the towns. So they were able to save me a little bit on different things. They didn't charge me to do the setup or the breakdown, which was good because that probably saved me $400. But it was still $1,000 rental for the stage, for a 20 by 20 stage. I needed it. We would probably rethink the structure for next year to save that money. But certain things like that, between the permit fees and all those things, I think we have a pretty good handle on like things to watch out for.
Yeah.
Just because we're fundraising in advance for the table fees, but we're also doing it in reverse once we commit. So like I said, this year we committed to doing the bicycle helmets. I had to source them. So there were some things that we had to work on. I knew what the cost was going to be for those. I knew what the hard cost for the event was. And it was a matter of saying, okay, A plus B equals C. How do I get to C? Do I need to add more vendors? Do I need to pick up a few sponsors? It came down to it for us, the programs that we do for the children, some of them they donate as part of a scholarship, some are paid for. So I was really lucky. I had a couple of, I had a local Montessori school that donated $1,000 to go towards the event. They did that in advance. So that allowed me to say, okay, I know I have the funds for the helmets at least.
Awesome.
Let me get the order in so that I have them on site for the day. And the rest kind of all works out in the wash. But, it's a little scary when you're on the hook for a $5,000 event and you're trying to raise the funds so that you don't have to pay the whole bill.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of good things. I love the idea of an actual event. I'll trade you if you want to take the kids. But those are some of the things that Kurtis and I and the girls were able to talk about in San Francisco about. Making sure that resonates within your salon. Unfortunately, when you say Sustainable Beauty Month, sometimes clients are like, what the heck is that? That's why we kind of call our promotional event an Earth Week event, because people seem to understand that a little bit better. But make sure that you're putting things out there of what you do. We found it really hard. Kurtis had pulled up some data from Instagram, and he'll probably mention some of the salons there. But there were 230 plus posts that went out that referenced the hashtag for SB Month 2016. A lot of times they were us, but I bet if you looked at them, there probably weren't too many salons that actually went and posted and used the hashtag, whether they did anything or not for the event. So what we're hoping to do is kind of learn from some of these lessons, see how you guys took the reins to be able to work with a local charity this year, and see if we can offer our support. We'd love to be able to have events all throughout April around North America, where some of you other salons that are ambitious enough to take on an event, we'd be able to help coach you on the things that you need to do, because it would be awesome to say that that's sort of like a Davines thing, that, wow, these 10 salons this year did events in different cities all over, whether on the same day or at least within the same month. And I think that could be absolutely amazing. I think that would be good. I don't know. You had pulled up some info from Insta, Kurtis. What do you got?
Yeah, good segue. First off, to mention a couple things just with regards to Instagram, because I kind of went through it a little bit more with a fine-tooth comb this time. I noticed that a lot of salons were posting about what their efforts were going to be for the event, and that was amazing. I think that's exactly what the hashtag is there to do. A couple things that maybe the hashtag is not there to do is to try to sell or your own product at just using that hashtag so people can see it. Also, discounting Davines in some capacity and not showing that any of the funds are going to any other place other than just discounting our benefit to the client. It's not really the right kind of way to be doing this. Discounting Davines in the first place is just not a good strategy anyways, but just mentioning some things, not to point any fingers, but also just, even if you're just highlighting your work, that's cool, but maybe put an angle on it for sustainability if you're using the hashtag. I really loved how people were, showing their jars or their product shelves, or showing the creativity that they're using with regards to their commitment to Davines. And that's what it's really about, is really showing an idea where this is not just showing it to other salons or anything else, but also being able to communicate this to your clients. So let them know about the hashtag. Maybe put some of your client hashtags in there to be able to get some traction going with regards to that. It is about the local community. It is about talking about, but maybe just use the next year for SB month 2017. Try to keep it within some reasonable guidelines with regards to sustainability. Some highlights I just wanted to mention: some amazing salons that are doing some great things. Tyler Mason Salon and Spa, they did a beauty basket raffle valued at $200, and the proceeds went to the Fruit Tree Planting Foundation. The JP Boutique on the 24th did 100% of their proceeds of services and 5% of the product sales to the Fruit Tree Planting Foundation. Hair by Cassili highlighted what their team was doing at the workshop salon on April 24th. We're doing haircuts by donation. Incognito Salon, they planned a tree first day as a team building event. So they posted pictures of that. It was amazing. It's beautiful. It's a great way to get your team kind of together on this, and also creating some good content. They also did a sustainable beauty gathering at the salon later that evening. And Gloria and company, they did a Fort Phoenix beach cleanup as a team. Hair Dynasty, they did a cool idea. They have sold infinity scarves for $10 each, and the proceeds were going to the Native Conservatory. The other one was Headdress Beauty Lounge. They planted flowers outside of their salon and had an event to raise money for the Fruit Tree Planting Foundation and the Simsbury Community Center. For Telly Salon, they did a bunch of stuff, but they are raising money with a donation of a portion of their salon services for 5 days. They're selling herb plants, raffle tickets. They had a bake sale. They also had something called Tree of Plenty, which encouraged clients to donate. I'm waiting to hear some of the more details on that. So for Telly Salon, if you can send us some more information or post the results of what went on for your Sustainable Beauty Month, that'd be amazing, because I'd love to hear more about that. Bella Lucia Salon, offering free treatments to clients who brought perennial to plant in their salon garden. Trey Bella Salon, raising money for Livin' Like Larry Foundation in order to purchase an AED, automatic defibrillator units for its local chamber of commerce by selling some handmade hats. I'm not sure if those were local made or not, but those kind of things, really great to put in your Instagram posts if you're doing that, just to raise awareness. They also sold some raffle tickets. Laura Moon Styling, they donated a portion of their product sales. Salon Concrete donated a portion of product sales to the Fruit Tree Planting Foundation. Hair, Body, and Soul sent out a message to see what salons and stylists were doing for the Sustainable Beauty Month. I'm not sure what their specific salon initiatives were, but I'd love to hear about that. And just as some guidelines for your social media in general, it's really great if you're highlighting what you're up to, it's amazing, but also, take the time to be able to also talk about, where your donations are going. Area Salon raised money for the Arizona Sonoran Desert Mountain Conservation Project. That'd be quite the acronym. Through clients' donations and raffle tickets, and also 10% of their services for 1 day and $2 for every product sold in the month of April. Zoom.
Probably worth mentioning too. Kurtis and I had, at Hair on Stage in San Francisco, we all had the opportunity to meet up there. And Melissa Wood from Aria, we talked a little bit about her doing an actual event for Sustainable Beauty Month for next year. So we're looking forward to working with her out in Arizona on that. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Kurtis. I just wanted to give Melissa a plug there.
Yeah, no, that's great. And San Francisco was amazing for that because we did connect with a lot of people that are leaders in sustainability and business throughout the Davos community. We had some amazing conversations, and we have got some amazing guests coming up in the next year that people have made commitments to be able to be part of this and bringing education to the whole Davos community. So really excited about that. There's actually just a few more here. So Zoom Hair Studio did cuts and treatments by donation on April 19th for the Fruit Tree Planting Foundation. Jekyll and Hyde Salon donated $4 from every product purchases in April and May. They were supporting the Rock House Foundation in Jamaica. The Stage Salon in Mission, BC, that's pretty close to us, had an event in their salon to raise money for the Fruit Tree Planting Foundation. And so just a couple things. I'd say, first off, I know there's probably a lot more salons that participated in Sustainable Beauty Month than that. That's a lot still. I think that's amazing. And if all of those salons did raise what they were hoping for, this is going to be a really great and successful month. If you are a salon that you did have an event, please post on Instagram, the details of what your event were and how much you raised. Davos is kind of just made about 18 hours ago, made a request from salons to highlight what the what the success of their event was. So if you can post how much money you raised and where it's going and just keep the conversation going and keep it under the SB Month 2016 hashtag, be amazing. Also, just a kind of a notable Instagram mention was that Green Circle salons throughout the month were also posting their salons and sustainable partners the statistics of what they've diverted. And I know they had done one that I noticed that was from Reframe Hair Gallery that did 294 total pounds of waste that they were diverting. So thank you so much for Green Circle Salons, that their support of Sustainable Beauty Month. They're highlighting certain salons through social media, and and I loved some of the quotes too. As a salon, especially during that month, putting some quotes from people that you really love and have a good voice and a good story to tell. Putting that on Instagram is amazing. It's great for the other stylists and salon owners to read those things, plus your clientele. So, amazing at that. I'm really excited about what's happened. I know that Fruit Tree Planting Foundation, they had posted that they were going to be planting 20,000 fruit trees in Uganda, no matter what. That was their thing, and they were going to be using all the money they raised towards that goal. So if we can hear from all the salons, what had happened to them, we would love to repost that and bring awareness from the community from the salon movement. And also, Davos is going to make that commitment as well. So please take the time to be able to put in your results over the next month or so. Some people are still raising money all the way through May. So going to be really looking forward to hearing how it all went and
That's good. And,
so,
and that's something, like I said, for us in Salon, it's funny that here we do this big event and, we always have the awareness component and things like that we do for sustainable beauty. And sometimes I don't want to say I forget to do the in-salon promotions, but, you get inundated with other work and, in our case, dealing with vendors and things like that, besides your everyday, day-to-day stuff, that, we opted this year to do a May and June Sustainable Beauty Month promotion in the salon. So the idea for us was to say, okay, we already had committed that we were going to do the safety gear for the foster children for our event this year. So we're doing conditioning treatments. We have a few other fun things that we're doing in the salon that we're going to carry through May and June. And then that is what our donation to the Fruit Tree Planting Foundation will be. This way,
cool.
At least it carries over. Because, sometimes I know it's a whole month, but then you have to go in and say, okay, how many days of that month are you actually open in the salon? How many hours? Are all the stylists on the same page, just like they are with product and things? So it's just a little bit difficult sometimes to get the message out there. So it's almost better. I always have this marketing joke that says, I'd rather have a great party that nobody goes to, so they all talk about it after and didn't cost me any money, than it's sometimes if they felt like they missed a great event, it's like, man, next year I'm definitely going to be there. Just there's a lot of things, and some of the smaller things that you can do in Salon shouldn't be. Some of those are the best. I mean, I don't know. We have an awesome staff. I don't know if I could advocate them and say, is everybody willing to put their tips up for a whole Saturday if they would go that far? But like Kurtis was mentioning, instead of the discounting, um, you're discounting it already. So then you're losing funds to the salon, which the movement is here to tell you about the sustainability of that. But you're losing funds to the salon, and then you're not even generating any funds to be donated. So, it's something interesting that you can do to tie the product line in. But reality of it is, it doesn't benefit the salon, and it really doesn't benefit whatever charity you're going for. It's just a way to move inventory. So I would say, if you talk to us about it, I think we could come up with some other good ways. One of the things that we loved, that we're starting to do again now, is incorporating the conditioning treatments, natural tech treatments and things. And now obviously with the new mask and the Me New mask, even as minor treatments in there, and doing them for a reduced price if they make a donation. So typically, like a replumping treatment here would be $25. If they're donate $15 to the charity, they get the replumping treatment complimentary. So the client saves the $10, and then that all goes into the kitty. So even from our stylist end, they don't get paid commission on that. We're able to fortunately we try to utilize our backbar points to get the product. So there was no cost to the product. The stylists say, hey, we're willing to not get paid on that particular thing to do it as a discount. And, you do 10 of them, that's $150 already. I mean, it's not, it doesn't have to be rocket science, and you don't have to do these fancy events like we like to do to stay involved and to be active with it. I would also say some of the display pictures were awesome. That's something I think would be a lot of fun for next go around, is some of the creative ways that people are using some of their leftover shampoo bottles and things in terms of their displays. The conditioner boxes, the squares, and the old ones, the round ones. Don't go easy, man. We've been there, done that. We want to see some new creative things now. But that would be a cool thing to do, something display wise. I think would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that you are unique is the stuff that's going to stand out. In Instagram, the one that I noticed was how using one of the conditioner containers as a full of like kids toys, which is small little toys, but it was mentioned, this is my kid's favorite little toy container or whatever. That kind of stuff is you're reusing it. It's sustainable. We've seen a lot of pictures of plants. I love to see it every time anyways. Makes me smile. But things like that, little unique items would be really cool to see more of. And some great points too, James, about the fact that we for 3 years we just did in salon events, and we raised a lot of money doing that. And there's nothing either better or worse about doing bigger events. It's just maybe about the time. Also, just keeping it authentic. Being centered around what you do know. If it's a family event, it's because you have family and you care about, bringing the family together. For us, I've got kids, but they don't live with me, but we spend a lot of time in the local community and late night events. And so it just fit us, fit our lifestyle. So it was authentic and it came across that way. And it really speaks to the fact that our passion as leaders for sustainability in our local community. And if you need any help with your events, please let us know. Send us an email at James at the Movement or Kurtis at the Salon Movement. And just let us know what you need some assistance with, or if you need some checklists. And please remember, do a debrief after your event. Write out your lessons learned. Create checklists and everything that you possibly can to be able to make your event easier for next year. This is about creating opportunity for you to succeed and be successful and create freedom in your life, not be locking yourself into a prison of a whole bunch of work and taking you away from the opportunity to work on your salon and in your salon that makes you money. So, I think
that's really good. And I love the fact that you mentioned that too. I feel like it's, for as funny as it sounds, I feel like we took on this event because it resonates with us. It's what we do. It's organic to us. But reality of it is, I feel like I raised more money with the cut-a-thon. We did the cut-a-thon. So in the very beginning, Sustainable Beauty Day was different in Europe and in North America. So we actually did two events our very first year. That October, we did the cut-a-thon for Sustainable Beauty Day, and then we had already had our Earth Week event. And when they moved them together, we were able to combine the two. But I feel like the cut-a-thon, like raw dollars, I raised more money, at the end of the day, and we were a brand new salon at that point than this craziness with the event. So I'm not trying to discourage anybody from doing an event. Uh, Listen, technically it is a lot of fun. We have a really good time with it, but but don't sleep on the fact of conditioning treatments. There's a great thing that I'm going to put in about sampling.
Well, looks like James froze there. So I'm just going to pause the recording.
So what I was saying about samples, we do some interesting things in Salon where we do the Davines Essentials line in little sample bags, and we do those for donation as well. But we'll do a separate call on retail. We have some awesome things on education. Chantelle and Kurtis and Angela and I, we just really went to town in San Francisco. We were able to do a lot of great things. We got to spend some time with Eduardo Paludo at his hands-on class with the awesome team of Alilon at Code Salon. So there's a lot of things that are going to be coming up. We'll also be live from Ion Studio in the beginning of June. So there's a bunch of really cool things. Definitely make sure you go to the salonmovement.com and sign up if you haven't yet. Encourage some of the other stylists within your salon, because I feel like some of the connections to be able to kind of get us all back in the same room. We're going to have an awesome summer with projects and some really good stuff. Kurtis, any final thoughts?
I'm just looking forward to the next show. We're really excited about showing what we are up to in San Francisco. That we're going to be releasing a video of stuff that we did and some interviews, and we've got some great guests lined up for the next little while talking about education. And I guess, and just thanks to everybody on the salon, members of the Salon Movement, and just members of the Davines Salon and Stylist community for your support of any local and international and charities and nonprofits, and of course the Fruit Tree Planting Foundation, and all of the sustainable partners that are participating and supporting this amazing movement called Sustainable Beauty Month that Davines has given us all the wonderful pleasure and opportunity to participate in. And so let's hear what you guys raised. Let's hear what you guys did, and let's celebrate hopefully one of the most successful sustainable beauty months of all time.
Sounds good, man. Listen, thanks again, Kurtis. Good to see you. Everybody, thanks. Salonmovement.com. Please go and register, and we'll see you soon.